They can do it safely. They can do it responsibly. Joining me now to discuss just how imperative it is that we get our children back in the classroom from the Heritage Foundation, Senior Policy Analyst Jonathan Butcher. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining Real America. How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you. Great to be with you.
So I have a 7th grader. She talks to me and some of her other friends from her class about what they're going through, trying to learn from a laptop every day. They're 13, they're 12. They're telling me, we're not getting the education. Dad, we're not learning. Wow. And then let's talk about the social issues. We are doing so much damage to our children by not returning them to the classroom, and you have the CDC right there saying they should go back, but you have these governors saying nope, nope, nope in several states and keeping them locked down and out of the classroom. The Heritage Foundation, I know you guys have a wealth of information on this type of thing. What are you guys seeing when it comes to like the numbers and the stats? Because I know these kids, we're failing them and their grades are failing. It's showing it. It's proving it.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just the CDC that's been saying the numbers are low. I mean, there have been reports from UNICEF, from researchers in Europe, from England, as well as several here in the United States that have reported that the figures are especially low in schools and the transmission is low between students and teachers. So what we know so far is that schools are not super spreaders, and it is not contributing to the spread of the virus.
Yeah. And that's the virus side of it. So follow the science, like we've been told now for 9 months. Now let's talk about our kids' education. They are not being prepared for the next level. I mean, elementary kids get ready to middle to high school or into college. They just aren't. Talk about those stats that's proving they're getting failing grades. They are not going to be ready.
Well, and that's the big concern right now, because reports from places like Fairfax, Virginia, from Los Angeles, outside of San Diego, really across the country, that the percent of students who are getting D's and F's this semester compared to this time last year is doubling or more in some places. So the failing grades are going up, and it's not just isolated. I mean, it's not just one district. We're hearing these reports really from around the country. And we have to remember that it's results like these that are going to hurt students long term. Yeah. There have already been reports, international reports, that said that because of the long-term shutdown, students could see a 3% decrease in their lifetime earnings because of what's going on right now.
Yeah, again, we're failing them. Now let's switch to the social aspect. These kids aren't socializing. I mean, they already were on these all the time versus you and I's generation and the generations before. So they were already at kind of a limited capacity of socializing, right? Now they can't socialize at all. That's doing big time damage to them, psychological damage, right?
Well, absolutely. I think that the best civil society response that we've seen coming out of this right now are the parents who are forming learning pods or who are engaging in these new micro school formats where parents will get together with their neighbors or with their students and their students' friends, and they will do an online learning platform or hire a teacher and teach their students during the day in small groups. So I think that this very natural response from parents who know that they have to get back to work and find a way to keep their kids learning has been something very encouraging that we've seen. The problem is that there just simply aren't enough of it. Yeah. There's not enough of that going on. And with schools remaining closed to in-person learning, that's why the failing grades are such a concern right now.
Yeah, and the parents are freaking out because they're probably trying to figure out how to put food on the table because they don't have their job, because if they're in one of the states with lockdowns, they can't work. My final question to you is the overall mental health of the family, too, because I'm sure you guys have seen the studies out there that are showing all the issues within the family. I mean, if you've got a husband and a wife and 3, 4, 5 kids all at home all the time, the folks aren't getting that 8, 9 hours of relief where they're in the classroom and they can be adults and do those things. So you've got child abuse up, spousal abuse up. You have all these problems now created within the household, within the family, right?
Well, absolutely. And I think that's why policy recommendations that schools should be open, at least optionally, for students to return is very important, right? Schools should make it possible for them to go back in person, even if parents decide not to. And I think that's a reasonable request, right, for schools to be able to do that. And you can mitigate the spread, as we've already seen. You know, everything from washing hands to masks to separating desks. There are ways to keep the transmission among students low, as well as with with teachers. And I think that's why it's a reasonable policy recommendation.
Yeah. Senior policy analyst, the Heritage Foundation, Jonathan Butcher, we have got to get real about this situation and get our kids back in the classroom. I'm so glad you agree. I think millions of families out there watching this will agree too. It's only right. We are shortchanging them, and I'm sorry, but we are screwing them up for the rest of their lives if we don't get them back in the classroom now. You take care. Thanks for the comments.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Stay safe.